my name. I was asleep. I heard the devil call my name. He said, "Don boy, come on down. It's time I stake my claim." Well, I cried, and I cried out loud. I regret what I have done. But the devil, he just lied. He said, "Don, you had your fun." Heard the devil call my name. I heard the devil call my name. I heard the devil call my name. Heard the devil call my name. Well, at last I finally woke. My room was all in flames. My lungs filled with smoke. I heard the devil call my name. I cried, "Lord, help me now." But he just turned the other cheek. He said, "I can't help you now. You got your destiny to make." Heard the devil call my name. I heard the devil call my name. Now I feel like I'm burning now, up inside. I got nowhere to run and nowhere to Well, I said to the devil, "Mate, how would you feel? Maybe we could get together and do some sort of deal." He said, "I've been burned by that crap before. I don't do that crossroad thing anymore." Call my name. I heard the devil call my name. Now I feel like I'm burning up inside. I got nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. Heard the devil call my name. I heard the devil call my name. I heard the devil call my name. Heard the devil call my name. Now, I think most of you have probably heard this story before, but for those of you that haven't, I'll tell it again. I think there's only two songs that I know of anyway that mention Kensington Road. There's the one that we're going to do for you next, and the one that Paul Kelly wrote. You know, Kensington runs for a mile without turning, before turning, blah, blah, blah. And it brings to light the comparisons between myself and Paul Kelly, which are stark. We were born on the same day. He's 1 year older than me. Both born up hillside of town. I was born in McGill and he was born in Kensington Gardens, just a couple of kilometres away. Both came from big Catholic families. He, of course, had 9 siblings and I only had 7. We both went to Catholic colleges. He went to the most expensive one at Ross Trevor and I went to the cheapest one at Maris Brothers, which is just down there on the corner. I just wish somebody would explode, blow it up. Anyway, we both barracked for Nord, both moved to Melbourne about the same time. He sold hundreds of thousands of records and I've sold hundreds. But the thing I've got on Paul Kelly is, of course, I don't have to wear a hat when I play. So. Anyway, I'll tell you the rest of the story too. I'm not sure how true this is, but 2 people from separate backgrounds have told me. The Bodgies, when we went there, that was my first band. We went to Melbourne. We were living there, and we used to rehearse sometimes in a place called Richmond Recorders, which had 4 or 5 different studios where bands would record. And the bloke that ran it heard us playing. And he rang up Molly Meldrum, who lived just around the corner in Richmond, and I went to his place a couple of times. But anyway, he said, "Molly, you got to come down and listen to these blokes from Adelaide. They're great." So Molly Meldrum came around and opened the first door he saw, and he looked in and said, "Are you the blokes from Adelaide?" And Paul Kelly said, "Yeah." And next thing you know, they're on Countdown. And we're up in King's Cross playing at the Mansell Room. Anyway, Kensington Road. Well, if you keep on driving up Kensington Road, you'll end up on a hill. You can look out all over this city from there, where it's quiet and it's still. Well, there must be a million people down there, all lined up in straight rows, and you wonder what the plan is from the end of Kensington Road. Well, there must be people dying. There must be people making love. There must be people crying out for help from their God above. Is it a town or is it a city? Depends on who you're talking to. But for me, it's just a place where people are living, and they do what they gotta do. Well, you can hear the hum of the traffic, watch the jet planes come and go. You can see the ships out on the bay from the end of Kensington Road. Well, there must be people laughing, little kids on their first days at school. There must be parents working out at a pass on the Golden Rule. Some people down there are living their dream. Some are dreaming their lives away. Some are living for tomorrow. Some just getting through the day. And it makes me wonder Now, in the interests of balance, we have to go across the other side of town. And I got the idea from this when I first moved down to Rosewater, just on the other side of Grand Junction Road. Alongside the city, past all the things they don't want you to see, and then goes to all the places that you don't want to be. It's the home of the high-vis shirt and the clapped-out Commodore, of smokes hanging out the window and one eye out for the law. There's no prestigious location, no desirable postcode. There's nothing up and coming on Junction Road. Grand Junction Road. At the IGA, near Addison Road, they do their best to make it clean, well stocked and in straight rows, but in the car park, there's a deal going down between young men so far gone, they're barely human. And on the corner, there's a girl so stoned she can hardly stand, when just a mile or two down the road, she could be kicking her heels up in the sand. There's bottle shops selling to the old ways pissed, street girls servicing the never kissed, late night pokies for the barely missed, truckloads of crap for the wing-filled dip. It's the place you go to make a living. It's not the place you want to live in. You won't find nothing to ease your load driving down Grand Junction Road. Grand Junction Road. My father worked in a factory there, just down from the prison. Sometimes 6 days a week, but more often 7. And I wonder what he thought about all those years he drove, first thing every morning down Grand Junction Road. Grand Junction Road. Grand Junction Road. Grand Junction Now, in the old days of music, it was very important to get a record contract because recording albums and printing them and pressing them and selling them was very expensive. So you needed to get some help. So you had to go and push yourself to, record company executives saying, we're the greatest band in the world. We play at the Angus Hotel in Angus Street, Adelaide. And we're the greatest, etc., etc. And what I found, I spoke to a lot of record company executives back in the day, and what I found was that when they started making small talk about, oh, you're from Adelaide. I was in Adelaide once. It's a nice place, yeah. I knew that I was stuffed. They were just being nice to me and, ready to move on to the next act. And so what I've done is I've rolled all those conversations I've had with record company executives in the old days into this song called Conversations with a Man from EMI. Nice wine there, yes I know. Yep, Tony Dunstan and the Adelaide Crows. I'm a singer, songwriter, guitarist. Come on, you must need more of those. I've played clubs and hubs and halls. I've done the market and the mall. I've played all 4 gigs they've got there 100 times or more. I've done them all before. I'm a legend in Adelaide. They love that song, they're the one I just played for you. They like me down in Rove and they're gonna fly us up to Roxby Down. There's a lot of weird murders there, so they say. But you don't really notice it that much day to day. I play the wheat sheaf on a Sunday, and sometimes the Grace Emily. We've rocked the big room at the Gov. Fill that place with a lot of love. And the comrades call for more whenever we play down at Semaphore. I'm a legend in Adelaide. I made the charts there and I get played on a community radio station where the announcer is no relation. But I'm not yet a star. Sign me up and we'll go far. I'll go anywhere, I'll go everywhere, but please don't send me back Jake on guitar, Jake Morrison. We could work the system and get a grant. You just bend over and drop your pants. Then you dream up some crazy marketing plan, and some RSA bureaucrat hands you 10 grand. It's a 20-minute city, that's all it takes to get around there. Don't be mistaken, there ain't no pissant town. You can go for a drive in the Adelaide Hills. We had the Clips of 500 and the tour down under, and we love to hate Sam Newman. You can go for a drive in the Adelaide Hills. I'm a legend in Adelaide. They love my song there that I played. I've been on the ABC. They played 2 minutes of my song that goes for 3. I'm a legend in Adelaide, but I'm really just some old turd they can't flush away. But I'm a legend. Glasses there. Okay, going across the Hay Plain. It strikes me that I've been across there quite a few times. Most recently, I think it was January. Yeah, went across there, did a gig in Canberra and one in Sydney, opening for Daryl Braithwaite in big halls, which is quite good, worth a drive, you know. Anyway, been across there a few times, and it strikes me that only people from Adelaide, or if you live in Deniliquin or Hay or something, know much about the Hay Plains, because when we go to Sydney, we have to drive across the Hay Plains. When the people from Melbourne go to Sydney, they go up the Hume Highway, and the people from Sydney never come to Adelaide, so we got the Hay Plains. So one time I crossed there, this song sort of seeped into my mind called the Hay Plain Blues. I drove all the way to Sydney in the middle of the night. When I went through Penrith, it started getting light. In that narrow street in Newtown, outside that front door, finally got through to me. I couldn't do this anymore. So I turned around and drove back from where I came, fighting with the sun on that wide empty plain, with the Hay Plain Blues. Just drive on through, don't turn around, don't turn around. That was years and years ago. I tried not to think about it much. There are a lot of good reasons to fall out of touch, but I just got a call, so I'm going back again. This time I'm driving to farewell an old friend, with the Hay Plain Blues. Just drive on through, lot of sky to see. An eagle drifting way up in the air, trying to find a tree with the hay plain blues. Just drive on through. Don't turn around. Don't turn around. Now we'll go way back in time and do one of the, not one of the first songs I wrote, but a very early one. We're playing in a band called the Ghetto Blasters in Melbourne, living in Melbourne, and the Ghetto Blasters was the next big thing, except we had a personal explosion. Molly Melbourne used to come to our gigs and stuff, you know. A couple of ex-Adelaide people like Kelvin Fleming, he was a guitar player in Clean Cut, used to be here, they live over there, and Nigel Sweeting, bass player from Adelaide. Anyway, why am I telling you all this? Because I'm trying to remember what the song is.
Gotta kill time.
It's called Another Place. I got messed up because this morning I learnt it on the other guitar in a different tuning. So now take a trip across the ocean or a shack by the sea. Well, you can go just any place where you'd like to be. On a tropical island, on by mountain stream. I can go just any place, but only when I dream. I suppose, actually, just thinking about it now, I realise that there are a lot of songs about the old days that I do these days. The old days, yeah. And here's another one. This one's called 5 Men in a Car. And it stems from the very early days when the Bodgies were just starting to get gigs in Melbourne and Sydney and stuff. We'd do stuff like play in Adelaide for a while. Then we'd drive over to Melbourne and do 7 nights a week for 2 weeks in Melbourne. Drive up to Sydney and do 7 nights a week for 2 weeks there. Then come back and play at gigs on the, all the way through back to Adelaide. We do things like finish at the Mansell Room at 4 o'clock in the morning and hop in the van and drive down to Melbourne for a gig the next night and get around. And we did more gigs than most bands ever, but because we didn't have a radio hit, not really that many people knew about us. But I've written all about it in a rollicking biography called This Could Be Big, 40 Years at the Dag End of the Australian Music Industry. And I just so happens I've got a few copies for sale here. It's been reviewed as mankind's greatest achievement to date in some books, or the Western culture's high point of Western culture. But anyway, you can make up your own mind if you get one. But this one's called 5 Men in a Car. So that's how I sum the book up when people ask me what it's like. Away. There's only trucks and us on this giant highway. 5 men in a car. 5 men in a car. Towns go by, just names, refueling stops on our road to fame. We've been here before, maybe. Now I'm not sure, but it looks the same as the place before. If we break down out here, not sure what we'll do. A roadhouse food near Gundagai could be horseshoe Well, way back when I was in 4th year at high school, I told you before I went down to Morris Brothers there, and I remember at the end of 3rd year, went home, and I said to the old man, I'm never going back there. Forget it. I'll go and work in a factory or whatever, but I'm not going back to Morris Brothers. So they said, oh, all right, you can go to Nord High, which was a 2-minute walk from our front gate, up to Nord High. Rather than catching 2 buses to get down here. It's crazy. But anyway, what I found about Nord High was there were girls in the class. And even though I've got 3 sisters, these were like proper girls, And anyway, after a short time, my first girlfriend, we had a short affair, very innocent. We used to hold hands. I remember walking all the way from McGill down to the Catacombs Club in Hackney to see some folk music. And we had our first kiss there, and the manager was going to throw us out for having a kiss in the Catacombs.
That's well he should have.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Anyway, it didn't last long, and life moved on. And as you can these days, I thought one day, I wonder what happened to Hillary, and these days you can Google people, and so I looked for Hillary, and it turns out that she was a mathematics professor at the Australian National University. And she was famous for coming up with a theory that only a few dozen people in the world could understand. And I knew she knew all about that gear because I explained it to her in 4th year. But the sad part of the story was that the reason I could find out so much about Hillary, it was an obituary. She died some years before. And the obituary also said that she had 2 kids. So I wrote this song called Note to Hillary's Kids. I don't even know your names, but I know you're out there somewhere, so I'll write this just the same. I trust this finds you well, I hope life's treating you okay. I know this comes out of the blue, there's something I'd like to say. I just found out your mother died quite a while ago. Nobody told me, there's no reason I should know. My last year at school, she was in a brainy class and I was a sporting fool. She took a shine to me, I've got no idea why. She was the first girl I ever kissed and the last to make me cry. I called her mine, it didn't last very long. She let me down gently, said it was time to move along. I heard her name mentioned now and then, till I found out yesterday. I still have a letter your mother wrote to me, and it takes me back to that summer and love's mysteries. I'd like to let you know, but I'm not sure where to start, that a little piece of Hillary lives on in my heart. Oh, the other week we got to play. There's a new club that sort of started up having live bands. Well, it's been going forever, but it's just sort of started up having bands again, called the McGill Club. And it's in Uren Street in McGill. And the reason why I'm telling you this story is because one of my first ever jobs was right next door to that club in a foundry, the McGill Aluminium Founders, and I worked there for a few years. And when we were working there was this old, well, not real old, but he would come in every morning and his eyes were really red and he was in a bad mood and a bit shaky and his hands used to shake and things. And he was obviously an alco, you know, he'd get right on the grog after work and not sleep much. And we used to say every Friday we'd go down to the Tower Hotel just down the road a bit. Say, come on, George, you can come down for a beer on Friday. No, I don't drink. He would say. Anyway, one day he came down there and pretty soon he was right into it, you know, all the sherry and the whiskey and the grog and that. We sort of left leaving him there. But one thing that he said always stuck in my mind, he said, I've got a kid somewhere, he must be growing up now. And remembered that song and put it in this song called Happy Birthday to Me. From my old brown paper bag, it warmed my bones as it went down. So I finished off the rest of that bottle to get my heart started for the day. And as I rolled away my old newspaper, I saw the date. It said the 4th of May, and I said to myself, happy birthday to me. Somewhere, he must be grown up now. But I wouldn't want him to see how his old man turned out anyhow. 'Cause I walk the streets and I sleep on the ground, under the bridge by the river with the newspaper riding down. Well, if I was a dog, that'd stick me in the pound, then feed me some meat and push me down. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Well, when the Raging Thirst are doing their sold-out tours of California and Europe and all that, when people find out we're from Adelaide, they say, well, what's the music scene like in Adelaide? And so I got sick of trying to explain it, you know. 360 gigs a year in Europe and America. And so I wrote this song about what would have happened if Bob Dylan was born in Adelaide. Just starting to cramp up. It must be this cold, rainy weather. I've never had that before.
Need more beard on.
Yeah, well, doing my best.
Only so much one man can do.
Bob Dylan was born in Adelaide in 1941. He went to Unley High School, but he never got along. Not exactly unpopular, just a little strange sometimes. He excelled in English and liked to talk in funny rhymes. Once he wrote a song, something about blowing in the wind. Then he went to teachers' college and didn't play much again. Well, Bob met Mary Lennon at a protest rally, then bought a brick veneer out near Happy Valley. Bob got a job teaching poetry to teenage Catholic boys. It was ideal for the job, immune to the smell and noise. Mary thought Bob's voice was awful and encouraged him not to sing. She said, Bob, take up photography. Music's not your thing. Well, Mary Lennon's brother lived in Maylands. His name was John. He was a bitter, twisted cynic, and they never got along. He drunk himself to death, working in the public service. Bob and Mary were alone at that funeral service till it was nearly time to go, when two blokes showed up and introduced themselves as George, Paul and Ringo. After 40 years of teaching, Bob finally called time. The staff took up a collection and bought him some fine wine. Now the Dylans are grey nomads, off to see Australia. Bob threw his old guitar in the back of the camper trailer. And one night around the campfire, after a lot of rearranging, Bob calls, hey Mary, listen to this. It's called The Times They Are A-Changin'. Mary said, shut up, Bob, and get in the car. Now, I have to introduce Jake Morrison, who's been playing the guitar tonight. Eddie Morrison on the bass. And I have to say, Jake and Eddie play in a band called Haystacks Calhoun around town. So if you ever see them advertised, get down and see them.
That's right. We do.
Yep.
And you should.
And Eddie's well known for his raconteurs.
Yes. I am.
Andy Przgonski on the drums, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to finish up our set today, and thanks very much for coming along on Easter Sunday. Going to finish up with a song. I think most of you might have heard this story, but for somebody that might not. I will fill up some time. Way back when I was working at that aluminium foundry in McGill, I didn't drink much, and I had a motorbike, no car. And when I wasn't working in the foundry, I used to be a brickies labourer, and that was the best paid job you could get, foundries and building sites in those days. And I saved up a whole lot of money. And I think it was the older sister of my girlfriend at the time said, Don, you should go to Europe, do the backpacker thing, you know, go around Earl's Court, etc. Which I thought was a great idea. But looking back now, I realised that they just wanted to get rid of me. So. But anyway, I did. I flew over to London, and my plan was to buy a motorbike there and ride all around England, Europe, and perhaps ride it back through Asia down back to Australia, you know. And nobody in my family had ever been to Europe and didn't know how cold it was in January. And when I got there, it was January, and I found a diary a while back of the trip I made, and it said, the trip from London to Manchester was so awful, I will never forget it, so I won't bother to waste any pages writing it down here. But the thing was, I did forget it, because the rest of the trip was even more awful. Freezing cold on my motorbike, and it sort of culminated. I was on an autobahn in Hanover, near Hanover, Germany. I was going down the autobahn, and my bike stuck in first gear. And I nearly got killed getting it across to the emergency lane, and then I nearly got killed trying to fix it because all the trucks going past at 100 miles an hour would blow all my tools and helmet down the road and I'd try and get them back. And so I thought, oh, bugger this, and I rode it in first gear to Hanover, and I went to a youth hostel there, and I managed to sell the bike to a bloke for 50 drachmas, which I thought was great, until I went down to the local Snaps bar to celebrate, which was full of all old buggers, even older than we are here today. And yeah, I went to pay for my beer, and it turned out they weren't going to take it. It was drachmas were Greek money, and it wasn't worth much anyway. Probably 2 pints I could have got for the 50 drachmas. But anyway, an old fella took pity on me and decided, you know, and paid for my beer. And that memory was one that I always kept in my mind. And when I started writing songs, I wrote this song called Pat Malone. I was traveling in a foreign town when a stranger flagged me down. I was lost and far from home when I first met Pat Malone. After a while, we went our separate ways, and for many years he disappeared, never leaving a trace. Then in a crowded bar, I was drinking alone. He said, remember me, I'm Pat Malone. He brings no comfort, he brings no cheer. That's just the way it is when he's here. But when the nights are long, there's nothing else to do but drink. Oh, with Pat Malone. I've known him now for many years, and we had 1,000 beers, but I could not call him a friend. He's just someone I see now and then. He brings no comfort, he brings no cheer. That's just the way it is when he's here. But when the nights are long, there's nothing else to do but drink with Pat Malone. Just the way it is when he's here. But when the nights are long, there's nothing else to do but drink. Oh, with Pat Malone. Oh, when the nights are long, there's nothing else to do. With Pat Malone. Big thanks to Jake on the guitar, Eddie on the bass, and Andy on the drums.
Ladies and gentlemen, the man of the hour, the man with the power, too sweet to be sour, prettier than a flower, the number one selection, the reflection of perfection, too hot to handle, too cold to hold, Mr. Don Morrison!
Oh, well, if we have to.
Get him all the time. It's a dump machine.
We'll do the rap play. Well, I know I don't look old enough to have been around in 1966. But now, here's a true story from up in Magill, happened in 1966. Well, the rats were big as rabbits in 1966. They came in from the paddock and they chewed Mum's garden to bits. I thought maybe I can catch one and make something with its fur. Then we went to town and saw the film, me and her. So I built a small chariot with the wheels for my sister's pram. All the uncles started laughing when I told them about my plan. They said, good luck, boy, we hope you succeed. How many rats to pull that thing you think you're gonna need? Well, I could get away with 4, but I really wanted 6. We were gonna rope them all together and teach them to do tricks. We'd roll around the neighborhood at fantastic speed. Those rats would pull me faster than any racing steed. Old Pop come down from Broken Hill and helped me build a trap. We built a pretty big one because I wanted the biggest rats. He said, don't let the dog out, boy, you'll eat all the bait. And you have to be patient and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. And wait. And wait. Well, I waited and I waited, buried in the grass. I started to worry about the rats chewing at my ass. I could hear all the other kids playing in the street, but the only time I left the post was when I had to eat. Well, the holidays are ending and the cousins came down to stay. I got a bit distracted, then the rats just went away. I was enrolled in Morris Brothers starting in a week, so I went back to catching yabbies and playing cricket in the street. Then Dad put the wheels back on my sister's pram, and one of the uncles went off to some place called Vietnam. None of that worried me, because I had the best plan of all. We were going to hike all the way to Morialta, and then we were going to find the mythical Third Falls. Decimal currency, 1966. Ron the Tank Knee Bones McGarry Medal, 1966. The Rat Plague of 1966. Thank you very much. Don't forget about a CD or a free one there, a donation.